Well, it's on now, so we better figure it out. Good
Well,
evening and welcome to another episode of the podcast. We're just sitting here. Hey, what are you going to talk about? I don't have a clue.
we were sitting here, have no clue what we're going to talk about tonight.
Because we can't talk about college football because that's not our wheelhouse. But that's what we were talking about before I hit the button. Well, there you go. Right, Johnny on the spot there. Hit the button for me.
Well, one of us has got to become the producer on this show. Okay.
Well, listen, I've been traveling all weekend. I was in Tennessee, went to a wedding, and then spent some time at Dollywood, which brings me to something I wanted to share with y'all. I learned something this weekend. Walking around and spending some time with my 8-year-old, I noticed something about him, and that's that he loves to point out things and explain things. He generally doesn't have any idea what he's talking about, but he thinks he does. And so he'll point out very obvious things, or he'll say, "Hey, Dad, this is how that works." And I'm like, "Yeah, buddy, sure it does." And I realized that's what it's like talking to social media comment sections. It's like you put out a piece of information. Well, that's not how that works. Well, yeah, but it is. Nope. That's not how it works. I'm gonna tell you how it works. I'm like, but you don't have any idea what you're talking about. So, spending the weekend with my 8-year-old just really clued me in on what it's like dealing with a social media comment section, because the trolls on TikTok are easy to come by. I mean, they're plentiful. They just drive by stupidity all the time, and there's some people in there that you'll see have some genuine questions, but the rest of them are just, diarrhea of the mouth. And
so what you're saying is that people on social media have the IQ of an 8-year-old? Is that what you're saying?
They have the emotional intelligence of an 8-year-old. That's about
and maturity.
Yeah. That's about where we're at.
Okay.
Because
we're spending all this time and money to be there.
Well,
do we need to question that decision, or
possibly?
And we're wondering why we had to go pick up a truck up in Janesville.
Well, we've put some content out there, but the TikTok algorithm is probably better than any of the others, because I mean it can hook you in. You get in there and go to scrolling, and hours go by, but it knows just what to send you right at the right time. Either it could be some tear jerking story, get you to squalling, or you'll be laughing uncontrollably at some baby, or you just don't know what's coming next. And then an amazing piece of information, and and you learn how to cook new dishes, and you learn new ways to clean your house, and it's pretty incredible. But God, what a time waster! I mean, it can just make hours just disappear in an instant.
Yes, it can. Yeah.
So what? What do we got new? We've talked about all the drama and all that stuff that we've had to deal with, and so now we're, I guess, kind of getting back to normal. Well, I guess here's what we can talk about. Craig Fuller issued a Twitter thread the other day that was pretty interesting. He was talking about, they've got at FreightWaves, they've got these amazing tools that they've developed. Freight indexes, and they pretty much built that stuff all in house, and it's really impressive, the data, because they're basically buying metadata from carriers and ELD companies and brokerage 3PLs. They're just massively mining all this data, and then they're turning it into usable information. And so he was pointing out the trends of the contract market versus the spot market, and basically they've both crashed. Down about 30%. And I think if you look at the world that Craig Fuller lives in, it's all about contract rates and 3PLs and mega carriers. And, that was the whole deal, I think, back in the day, the idea of hiring me to bridge the gap and communicate from that corporate level down to the driver. I don't think they've figured that out yet. But in their world, they're measuring these trends and trying to do it in a real time way. Whereas before sonar and all the stuff they developed, you just kind of had to guess. You'd look at what happened, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and you try to forecast off of that. And they're really trying to come up with some real time data, and they have. But fuel is up and rates are down and capacity's up, and there's not enough loads, and we're seeing it. The Landstar board is a microcosm of the larger market, because we've got both. We've got contract and we've got spot. We're playing in both lanes, and I think that's one of those intangibles with Landstar that nobody wants to talk about or think about, is that we do have a lot of good contract freight. Now, BJ's won't haul it. We have a hard time keeping it. But we have, from the inception of this iteration of the podcast, which goes back to August of 19. Am I thinking about that right? Yeah, about August of 19, when Larry joined the show, we talked about the dip was coming. Nobody could predict it. Nobody knew the day and the hour, but it was coming, and it's here. And I've said a few times that I think that Blue Ribbon almost has to wait for the other side to still be here to really prove the model. Larry has already proven it in 2009 and 2014 and 2016 and 2020, but there was really not much of a podcast to prove it, to put it on the record, as it were. And so now we're in this position where we're going to be broadcasting every weekend, thanks to Pittsburgh Power, to talk about this as it happens. So, and of course, we have all the data. I mean, Larry's a numbers guy, and we've got all the numbers for all these different trucks. And but it's just this convergence of low volume, high fuel. Everybody's freaked the hell out, and have been for almost 1,000 days back to March of 2020. The media has turned himself into a professional terrorist organization, and they're just scared the crap out of everybody. Of course, and I guess tomorrow, November 8th, will be the culmination of that. We'll see which way it's going to go. So, crazy thing is, I'm not worried. I'm curious, and I'm wondering what it's going to look like, because this market adjustment has never had the spotlight that, with social media, with Twitter, with TikTok, with YouTube, all the people that have gotten into the creator space over the last 2 years. There's not ever going to have been as much real time talking about it. So I'm not worried. There was a time I think I would have been, but the numbers don't lie. And if you're getting good fuel mileage, your fuel surcharge pays for your fuel. So the fuel's not the problem, And I just saw last week, one of the Landstar groups, a guy had been at Landstar 6 years, and the truck went down for 19 days, and he had to go. And I'm thinking, 6 years, man. I mean, there's 6 years, and you can't survive 19 days without a truck. Of course, he was saying the truck still couldn't be fixed, so I'm sure he had, back ordered parts and all that stuff to deal with. But,
well, part of the reason why you're not afraid, or probably the whole reason you're not afraid, is that you now know what the numbers are. You don't wonder how things are going to work out, because you actually know what. I mean, you can tell what we need to make a profit. We know what our cost per mile is.
mm-hmm.
We know that our operation can still be profitable even in the current, which everybody thinks this is really so bad. I was looking at some figures today. Landstar put out their whatever it is, the monthly DAT report, and over the past 5 years, we're still within a few percentage points of average van rate over the last 5 years. So this is not This is not abnormal. This is
Yeah.
normal.
This ain't the bottom.
We put our business model together to operate in this environment, and so there's that you have confidence because you've seen how you know what the numbers are. You don't have to wonder if it's going to work out, and two, you see what it's like to be able to control costs and what effect that has on things. The confidence comes with the knowledge. That's where it comes from. And we have that knowledge. We share that knowledge with people that are willing to listen to it. But the people that are worried are the people that don't know that. I've said many, many times I can go to any truck stop in this country and knock on 100 of the doors, and once they figure I'm not a lot lizard and they talk to me, I can find out with them within a few seconds if they know what their fuel mileage is and their cost. It doesn't take long to figure it out. And just like years ago, Mike Beckett used to always say, I could go to any truck stop and find 70% of wheel bearings loose. Okay. I can go to any truck stop and find 95% people behind the wheel have no idea what it costs to run that truck. That's where the problem is. That's the problem. They think that they have to get $6 a mile or $8 a mile, $9 a mile to make profit. And I saw the argument this week. Somebody was, I think Ronnie Head, bless his heart, the Apostle Ronnie, he was arguing about driving slower and cutting back on costs, to be able to make more money in this environment. And everybody was arguing that a normal argument that was coming out with, yeah, but I'd lose a load every week if I slowed down. I have to drive 75 miles an hour or I'm going to lose a load. Even Ronnie was defending it,
Mm-hmm.
So,
and there was a guy the other day that wanted more percentage. And times like Landstar should give us 10% more money.
I think I got that knocked off. I replied, well, how about, you think we should include a pacifier with that extra percentage? And as soon as I did that, it got taken down. So I think I killed that one. So,
my response and Ronnie matched it. I've done the math.
Yeah, I saw that. I did see that.
I've got the BSC 9000, and the math says that if Landstar took 25 instead of 35, it's about 16 grand a year.
Yeah, well, they don't take 35. I can prove it to you for years and years and years. It comes out to be about 69 or 69%. Not. What am I trying to say?
The truck is about 70. And when the higher the fuel is, higher the fuel is, the more money you. So, I've seen some loads really paying 72, 73 percent. When you do the math to what the truck's actually getting minus the.
Instead of 35, it's actually about 29% is what it is.
Right.
When you factor out that some of that money is at 100%, not at 65%. But anyway, here's the bigger picture here, though, Chris. This guy is whining and moaning because he's in a situation now where he's having trouble. So Landstar should give him more money. Okay. Mm-hmm. Again, I need somebody to come help me because I can't make money with the decisions that I've made. Again, it's the same thing we see over and over and over again. Is it Landstar's fault that you bought the truck you did? Is it Landstar's fault that you run the operation you did? If that's the case, when things are going really good, should Landstar get more of your money? Why should it only work one way? It makes my blood boil. I see that kind of.
Well, and somebody asked, did you give Landstar a refund when the rates were up?
Right. Oh, folk, no. I'm telling you guys. Speed limiters are coming. That's how.
Let me.
That government whose altar you bow at, that when you need rate help, is going to grant you your wish, and they're going to put speed limiters on all your trucks.
Let me hit this one real quick. What's Larry's TikTok? Well, Larry doesn't have a TikTok. Blue Ribbon has a TikTok, and it's.
I have one, but I don't ever post anything. So,
right. It's at Blue Ribbon Logistics. If you want to find Larry speaking words on TikTok, it'll be on the at Blue Ribbon Logistics.
Larry has a TikTok that has 520,000 views as we speak.
Yeah. It's all going to his head.
Do you find that to be incredible?
I do.
I was with some of our family this weekend, and I was telling them that, and they looked at me and they're like, "What the hell are you saying that anybody 520?" I was like, "Believe me, I have no idea. I think the algorithm is there's some key word in there that it's being suggested to everybody. It has nothing to do with trucking. That's all I got to say."
Well, now a little programming note. I need some production help from the audience because lots of times we'll try to come up with a topic beforehand, which means I've got to make a thumbnail, I'm terrible at that, by the way. So I need some as we talk here. We need y'all to help us with a title. Now, my first vote for is a title for tonight is "Ain't Scared." That's where I'm gonna start, but y'all can chime in the comment section and give me a title. What we gotta call this episode.
I think it should be "The Night Before."
yeah,
The night before.
Yeah. Let me hit a because there's a couple of good comments here.
The video on the OPS Lucky Trucking is episode 120 in YouTube.
108.
108. You're right. Episode 108 in YouTube. That's the episode on 120. Now, this little snippet was taken from that. And I couldn't tell you how to find it. It's on TikTok, but I couldn't tell you how to find it. I guess you can find Blue Ribbon, and then it lists all of our TikToks.
Well, on the TikTok profile, there's a link, and it's a Beacons link, and that has links to everything: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and all that stuff. But if you go to the at Blue Ribbon Logistics, we have a handle on YouTube now, by the way. It's called at Blue Ribbon Logistics. All of our videos there, but if you search for episode 108, you'll find the full episode there.
Right.
Maples Trucking.
But if you go back to the TikTok thing, it lists all of it. It has all of our thumbnails in one place, and at the bottom of the thumbnail is the number of views on one.
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about. Episode numbers on YouTube.
Well, I know that, but I don't know if this guy's asking if he wants that episode or he wants the TikTok that has 500,000 views.
Right. Well,
either way, you can find it either way.
Right. He needs to watch the whole video. So Maples Trucking. What happened to the Love's discount? It was 0.07 today. They were giving the biggest discount. Well, used to be Pilot and Love's both were a standard 25 cents off of the cash price. Then a few months ago, they started offering Cost Plus. And it was only in certain states you would find Flying J's, Pilots, and Loves that had Cost Plus pricing. Well, same thing with TA and Petro. What I have found is a kind of general trend. As the fuel cost starts to rise, the discount shrinks up to the point where it gets high. Okay. And then it'll be at its highest point, and then all of a sudden you'll see the discount gets huge. And that's where the wholesale prices drop, but the retail hangs out there for a minute. And so as we start on the other side, you'll be at a nickel, one day, and then the next day it's $1.50. So whenever you're watching the prices, the discount will shrink as you're going up. And then right before the price comes down again, you'll see this huge variation in the discount, and then it will stay that big, and then the retail price will follow that. And it has to do with oil futures and all kinds of nonsense that I can't make myself learn about because it makes my eyes glaze over. But that's basically it. Love's is now doing Cost Plus. And so, again, that's why you have to – wait a minute. That's why you have to use – if you're at Landstar, you have to use Landstar 1 every single day. You don't go, well, hey, last time that Love's was good. No, you look at Landstar 1 every single day, because we've looked at places like Effingham, Illinois, where there's, 2 pilots, a TA, and a Petro. And in any given day of the week, one of the 4 of those that are 2 miles apart can be much different than the other one. So you cannot ever go on memory. You can't go on, the Love says it good. No, you have to look at Landstar 1 every single day before you make your fuel purchasing decision. And you need to look 200 or 300 miles down the road to make sure that maybe I just need to buy 50 gallons here and go fill up 300 miles down the road.
So let me say my opinion about that. Number one, the discount doesn't matter. You shouldn't be making your decision on the discount. You're looking for the lowest price. Okay. So the discount doesn't really matter. It's if you're looking at your route for today and you look all along your route, you just find the lowest cost for the diesel. Now you got to take the IFTA out for this to work. But we buy fuel all the time that has very, very little discount, but it's still the cheapest price that's available that day on that route. So the discount's kind of like smoke and mirrors, it doesn't really matter. If I sell fuel for $5 a gallon and I give you a 10-cent discount, it's $4.90. If I sell fuel for $4.80, okay, with a 1-cent discount, it's still cheaper than the bigger discount. So it doesn't really matter. Don't get confused by the discount. Compare the prices to all the other fuel stops. And if you're at Landstar, the Landstar One app makes that very, very easy. So
I'm trying to make sense out of this comment that Richie just made.
Good luck.
Well, using the example of the Landstar 10%, you can save more than what Landstar could give you by making the proper purchasing decisions. And then beyond that, 1 mile per gallon is much more than the difference between 10%, and I did that calculation off like the maximum number. Now, if you're one of these guys out here running 60,000 miles a year, that 10% ain't going to do jack. It's going to be $5,000, now on I'm going to tell you here, the Big Chris says mom and pop stations are giving some nice discounts. Sat Brothers too. And I'm going to tell you what we tell our guys. If it's a nickel, 2 or 3 cents, I'm not going to mess with the mom and pops because they're not turning over as much diesel as the Petros. And we all know that, a Petro or TA can get bad fuel too. So it's not it's not set in stone, but I'm a little less willing to go to some of the mom and pops, just turnover, not saying I absolutely wouldn't do it, but you don't get the shower credits and that kind of stuff. So if it's a couple of pennies or a nickel or something like that, if it's a huge discount, I'm probably going to get it.
If it sits in the ground very long, it gets condensation in it, and condensation is going to help you catch algae and let that grow. And so sometimes it's not worth the little bit of penny or two savings because they just don't turn that fuel over as often as the big guys do. Now, I've gotten bad fuel at a Petro, so it's not mean you're always going to get that, but I think the chances are less that you're going to get it at one that puts 2 or 3 loads in the ground every day as opposed to one every week. So
yeah.
We have a whole episode on buying fuel. It's early on. I don't know the number of it. It's probably in the first 5 or 10 episodes that we did, but it puts it down to 50s.
Yeah.
But we cover IFTA and fuel purchasing, fuel strategy extensively. And if anybody wants to know more about that, I'm going to direct you there.
10 Count Story says, hi, Larry. Spoke with Michelin product manager X1 Super Singles and shared the lunatic overinflation philosophy. They don't agree with you. I'm a lunatic for life.
I don't. Well, here's my answer to that, because I've had that same conversation. And here's what happens, though. Okay, first of all, you know who you're talking to. You're talking to some college-educated engineer. Okay, and he's only told what the engineers have told him. I'm going to tell you, sitting here right now, when Michelin has a problem, okay, they call Mike Beckett to tell him how to fix it. So if Mike Beckett tells me to overinflate the tires, I'm going to overinflate the tires. I've done it since 2009 on every truck I've ever been around with, and I've never had a problem with it. So, and I tell the Michelin guys that. They shake their head. Michelin doesn't pay me. They don't sponsor this. I don't even give a fuck about Michelin. The only thing good about Michelin is I like their tires. Okay.
Right.
But as far as them, I don't have any connection to them. And I think that some of their people I talk to are very arrogant. But I just don't talk to them, So I do know this: when I do what Mike Beckett tells me to do, I don't have problems with tires. Okay, I have a history when I drive a truck of getting 475,000 miles on a set of Michelin or set of singles, and about 275 to 300 on a set of steers, overinflating them. And I used to inflate my singles at 140. Okay, 140, because I had my own air chuck and I could go slip in there and do it. Look, I'm not. We do this to share what we consider our best practices that work good for us. Like every show you ever watch on TV or hear, you have to take that and measure that against your practice and your operation, and make sure what's best for you is safe and da 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 da. I accept no liability for this, other than the fact that it works for me, it works for our fleet, and the person that I think the most of in the tire business, and oh, by the way, every tire manufacturer and OEM in the world hires him to fix their problems. That's where I got the information. So anyway.
Let's see what, I just saw a comment that I wanted to put up here and now I lost. Oh, here it was. Had to replace a dryer on my truck today, $1,500 all told. I'm assuming we're talking about the air dryer. I need to know what truck and what engine, because I've learned something very interesting about air dryers. We service our air dryers once a year, and so I was going to wherever I could find it the cheapest. Sometimes it's Napa, sometimes it was the dealer, but I was going and buying the desiccant, and I was buying the purge valve, and I was spending $220 to $275, for this dryer or this desiccant and purge valve for a Bendix 89 dryer. And plus you had to pay the labor, somebody about an hour of labor, because the thing's got to come off the truck regardless. You got to remove it from the truck, set it on the bench, rebuild it, and put it back on. So I was talking to a guy at West Virginia Spring and Radiator, and I was telling him, he used to be a Napa guy, and he was kind of my go-to. If I couldn't find something, I could text Robert, and he would be like, just from memory, oh, well, here's 5 different part numbers and 3 different manufacturers, and find me all kinds of stuff. Y'all, I bought a brand new Bendix 89 air dryer for $175. No core. I don't have to take it apart. I don't have to do nothing. $175 for a brand new one. I can't buy the parts to rebuild one for that. So Pete says I'm assuming that's Pete. I just made that up. Cochran. I don't know where I got the Pete from. It just says, anyway, a 579 with an X15. Well, listen, if that truck has an AD9 Bendix dryer on it, listen, I would take $1,500 and buy it in gasoline to burn that place to the ground. Because, I can't imagine even a new truck not having an AD9. A damn dryer's a dryer, But if it's got a Bendix 89 on it and they charge you $1,500, I hope they kissed you before you left.
Well, we had a guy almost pay $3,000 for a clutch or something this week, didn't he, or last week? And
$7,500.
That's what I meant. I mean, we saved him $3,000.
Yeah.
So
and probably 2 weeks of freight. Oh, here we go. Lee Byer. If the sidewall says max load, max load X pounds at 120, is 130 really considered overinflating because it didn't say 120 is the max pressure? Yes. If you go look at a car tire, it says maximum pressure.
But it doesn't say max. It says recommended pressure at such and such load.
No. I said car tire.
I know,
A-
but I'm
a
talking
car-
about truck.
I know. I'm getting there. A car tire says maximum pressure. A
Correct.
truck tire says maximum pressure at a load. So, and Mike Beckett does an amazing job of going through these different tables of how much how much your tire would have to be inflated at for a certain load. Well, sometimes it's super low and sometimes it's super high. But you have to understand when you're talking with the amoebas in the shop, a car tire does have maximum pressure. That's what it says. But a truck tire says maximum pressure at a certain load, at a certain weight. And that's what you have to look at. So you can't, because again, it's like these emotional 8-year-olds on TikTok. What they say doesn't make sense, and it's not logical, but it feels good to say it. And somebody somewhere, then authority said, "Oh, that's what you're supposed to do," and then they just take it forever, never question it, never looks at it. Now, if you want to talk to somebody that knows what the hell they're talking about, Rocky Rockefeller. No commercial tire in the United States has a maximum pressure. The wheel will dictate the maximum pressure, and that's like 400, right?
Correct. And it's stamped in the wheel. And I'm still looking at I don't think it says maximum load either. I don't think it says that.
Well, it says maximum, like ours will say 120 pounds at so many pounds. That's
right.
certain number of pounds.
At 10,200 pounds. But I don't think it has the word maximum on it. I think it says recommended pressure.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I don't think the word maximum is there, but it doesn't matter. The point is, it's not true. Okay, if you want to take this side of the argument, then every time you load your trailer, you need to weigh it and adjust your tire pressure to match your load.
Right.
Because that's what the engineers at Michelin will say, is that the tire pressure has to be adjusted for your load. Mm-hmm. Now, nobody out there in greater trucking world does that. But yet you want to come on here and talk to me about overinflating my tire and leave it that way all along. So
we shoot for 130 to 140 in single drives and 115 in steers. That's where we're aiming at 70 degrees cold tires at 70 degrees. At 40 degrees, it's going to be a different number. And at 90 degrees, it's going to be a different number. Back to fuel for a moment. Mason, one of these days, I need a phonetic spelling of your last name so I could say it right. Because I'm not going to try it. I'll sound like an idiot. GP Transco owner-operators get fuel cards for Pilot Flying J, and before I get my authority, I plan to lease on with them. Is it truly worth fueling at TA rather than a Flying J? Well, it depends on your deal. We have Landstar fuel cards, and, everything I've ever heard is that it is the industry-leading discount program. Well, if you sign up with somebody that's got a deal with Pilot Flying J and they don't have a deal with TA, the number's what's going to matter, right? Because what's the cheapest fuel you can put in the tank? That's all that matters. It don't matter where it came from. Now, we were talking about the mom and pops, and if they're not turning over as much fuel, you have a somewhat elevated percentage of getting bad fuel over somebody that puts 10,000 gallons a day in the ground.
You're going to have to find some way of comparing fuel prices. If your fuel card provides you with some way of doing that, an app or something. If not, we have, what's it called? Find Cheap Truck Stop?
Find Fuel Stops.
Find Fuel Stops. But you're going to have to find a way to compare fuel stops in your network. And the brand doesn't matter. You just, because it's going to change, and you can't get loyal to a brand or can't get loyal to a particular fuel stop because it's very volatile and it's going to change every day. So that's the reason why we teach our guys to go on the app and look at where they're going today and find out where the fuel is cheapest today. You can still get great fuel mileage and still have your fuel cost too high. I mean, we track the cost per mile fuel as well as the fuel mileage. And that cost per mile per fuel tells us when we have somebody that's paying too much. As a matter of fact, earlier in the night tonight, one of our guys was bragging about 61 cents a mile. He was, I think, one of our low guys this week. So his fuel cost this week was 61 cents per mile. Our fuel surcharge this week was 70 cents a mile. Now, we also had somebody that had a fuel cost of 75 cents a mile. So obviously that person didn't do as good a job of buying fuel at the cheapest places as Tom did. So that's the reason we bring this number out. It's the reason we publish it and talk about it, is because it's one thing to get good fuel mileage. It's another thing to pay too much for the fuel. And if you monitor both of those, then you'll keep track of that and you'll understand the difference between, paying more for the fuel or paying less. And we do this through Kevin Rutherford's fuel gauges. That's where we get these numbers. So it's a free app and you can download it on your phone. But anyway, so
educational Navaratnasingam. Well, I don't know where the emphasis is. Navaratnasingam. Okay, it's from Sri Lanka. Rocky was saying Nastic they need a new name. That just sounds so.
It is. It sounds nasty.
Nastic has a great fuel card for him. It beats OIDA.
It's like Astic. It's like ass somewhere in there.
Not as good as Landstar pricing, but the closest that you'll get.
No, they used to call me. They used to call me all the time, trying to get me to take their fuel card. And as soon as I tell them I'm Landstar, they just hang up.
Terminator. I fueled up at Speedway in Ohio, app stating $1.44 off. I pumped and it ended up only being 10 cents off. I'm with Landstar. Have you had this before? We generally stay away from the mom and pops, and this is another kind of reason I'm just not all that trusting of the numbers being correct. Now, one of my guys turned in a fuel ticket a couple of weeks ago. This bizarre. It was a Sheetz in Pennsylvania somewhere. And I was going, what the hell? But I looked, and now I didn't see it on the card activity report to make sure. But according to the discount, it was the cheapest fuel around. So I don't know. I would probably call, I don't know, card services or somebody.
LCAP. You have to call LCAP.
Yeah, call LCAP and talk to them about it and show them, but, again, I'm not a fan of Pilot, Flying J, Petro, TA, but there is some consistency there that I can kind of count on, and so.
Except for the TA in, what's that town in Ohio? Outside of Dayton? Where Neil Armstrong's from.
No, just north of Dayton. It's right on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, yeah. Richie found out the hard way.
Yeah, you don't want fuel there, okay?
Yeah.
So there used to be one in Denton, Texas, but they're now a company store. But that one in whatever the hell it's Wampakoneta, Ohio.
Yeah. I started with a
do not want to fill that TA there, okay? So
look, the bottom line, remember that, and we talk about this so much in our orientations with people. There are no blanket answers. Okay. We talk about the why. And if you figured out the why, the how will come to you. Why do we buy fuel at X place? Because it was cheap. What are we trying to do? Get the cheapest fuel. What's our number one fuel cost? Or what's our number one cost? Fuel. So we do anything and everything that we can, whatever it takes, to look out as far as we can look and try to find the cheapest fuel, because it's our number one cost. It's the biggest thing that you can choose, you can affect through your choices. But we don't say, oh, well, I like Pilot better. No, I want cheap fuel. I don't care where it comes from, within reason. And that's why we have to think about it. Think, you know, it's like when we're talking about communication with agents, why do we send them an email when we arrive? Well, because they deserve it. They have a right to know. It's good business. It's courteous. It gives us a track record through email that that's what time you got there and that's what time you left, you know. But it's less about do what I said and do it when I said to do it, and understanding that we're doing this program so that you can learn those best practices and turn them into habits so that when you get in your own truck, you've already got all that figured out. Yeah, Richie got the Larry Long special for fueling up at Wapakoneta without checking Landstar 1. Well, Richie's had a few Larry Long specials, matter of fact.
Yes. He's like the Energizer Buddy, though. He takes him and keeps on ticking.
Yeah. Clarence McGee, when figuring CPM on fuel, do you calculate it with the IFTA or just the discount? Well, we calculate. I mean, you're paying the IFTA, so when you're, we're not choosing where to buy fuel based on IFTA, but IFTA is part of the cost. So yeah, when we're entering it into fuel gauges, it's the total that they take from the fuel card because it's a cost.
We're choosing it not counting IFTA, but when you enter the cost in that you paid for it, that includes the IFTA. So that cost per mile number is including your IFTA. True.
Now, I was thinking about this driving up here today, and it might be too much, but could we, in the accounting system, show the retail price and then the discount where we could actually see in a year's time how much the LCAP discount saved us on fuel? Retail.
You can track anything. It's just whether I want to do it and whether it's whether that knowledge is worth the work. You know how many fuel ups I post every year?
That's a handful.
I'd say that's a no, hard no. So
well, because what I was wondering is what's the spread? Is it 50 cents in a year's time? Is it 50? Is it 75? Is it $1? Like what's I would love to know what the overall spread is on retail price versus what comes out of the pocket. What would that average be? And really the only way to know that would be to track the amount of the discount on everything and then average it out over a year. Because it's one of those intangibles that, well, I've got my own authority. Okay, how much you paying for fuel? You're pissed off because Landstar takes 35%. How much more are you paying for fuel by not using it?
Stand by a second. Stand by just a second.
Okay, I'm gonna fill time because you can't have dead air.
Well, professional. I might just blow your little shit in the water right here.
Because I'm always thinking about this, lease versus authority and how much does it cost, and everybody wants to focus on that 35%. We know the cost of leasing to Landstar is about $8,000 a year, whether you pull one load or 100. In your various deductions throughout the year, you're going to pay about $8,000.
Okay, I have your answer for you.
Go ahead.
Your answer for you. I'm already doing that. Okay. So year to date, we have spent $680,000 rounded off in fuel.
Mm-hmm.
After the discount, that number is the discount was rounded off as $90,000. The rebate is $90,000.
Okay, so consulting the BSC 9,000, 90,000 divided by 680,000, 13%, 13.2%.
I would say about right. I was going to say probably 10 to 12% is probably average.
So if you did 120,
wait a minute. Don't I not get an attaboy for that? Or I'm impressed that you already had that number or anything like that.
Thank you for your service. So 120,000 miles.
I'm the numbers guy. Remember,
he is the numbers guy. Divided by 7 would be 17,000. So if it was $5, okay, that's $85,714 in retail fuel costs for one truck, 120,000 miles. So times 0.13. Yeah, it's about $10,000 to $11,000 a year in fuel savings on 120,000 miles at 7 miles per gallon.
It's actually better than that because if I factor in the IFTA reconciliation,
Mm-hmm.
it's another $4,500 credit.
Oh, okay. So that's 15. Well, but
Because
you really count that? I mean,
absolutely, it's revenue. You already expense it when you pay it at the pump. You're paying the IFTA.
I know, but I'm saying but the truck's going to do IFTA regardless of you're getting a discount or not. That's what I'm saying.
I'm telling you that this year we got a $4,500 credit from our IFTA reconciliations. Now that's expense to fuel. That means if you're getting the money back, you got to credit fuel.
Right. Well, I still like the 13%. So you're trading 13% an additional fuel, assuming that you're not getting any discount whatsoever. And I'm sure NASTIC or whatever, you can get some discount. So let's split the middle and say it's $5,000. Better with Landstar than with anybody else. The variation in insurance, and I know there are some guys out there. Well, I don't pay very much for insurance. Okay, well go total 4 trucks in 4 years, and tell me what happens to your insurance. Because that's we've totaled 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 trucks in 4 years. And our insurance has not gone up a penny.
It didn't go up because of that, but all the insurance went up a couple bucks. It went up like $2 a week, but everybody's did, not just ours.
Here's the thing. Let's just say that we said, all right, we're going to go compete with Landstar. We're going to
Lunastar.
Star. We're going to create our own version of Landstar, which is crazy because it's just all it is it's basically a payment processing system. Is really all it is in reality. If all things are equal, we have a corporate structure and we have owner operators leased to us and we have agents and they're getting freight and they're delivering freight. And an agent or a truck screws up the load somehow. Guess whose fault that's not? Ours. You're wanting to blame Landstar for your own faults, your own failures, or the failure of somebody you're not even connected to, but because of the blue stars and it's Landstar. Really, all they did was provide insurance and cut a check. They didn't book the load. They didn't haul the load. They had so little to do, but because they have the brand, you're going to blame Landstar for a problem. It's just nonsense. But I digress. Mason's isn't standard industry 30. It's standard, yeah. Like when I was at Anderson, it was 67.33. If somebody's going to provide you something, they got to get paid. So if a carrier is going to buy the cargo liability insurance and all the stuff that it takes to run their business, they got to get paid somehow. It's got to come out of the rate. So how else are they going to get it? Well, I'm on a 75.25. I'm on an 85.15. Okay, but compare apples to apples with me. Get your balance sheet and your profit and loss and all that stuff and lay it down beside his, and we'll see whose is longer.
Well, and you got to compare apples to apples too. 35% of what versus 40% of what? We see these ads all the time on Facebook for BCOs trying to hire drivers, and it's all over the place. I'm gonna give you 35 to 40% of net, and it's you just have to make sure you understand you're comparing apples to apples.
Wasn't it George Bush years ago talked about fuzzy math? That's some of that fuzzy math, and I promise you it don't benefit you, okay?
Yeah.
It benefits somebody, it ain't you. I
You're not supposed to have dead air time.
yeah. Well, here's another observation. You talked about this last week, I think. Driving up the road today, you know, when I started in this business, 1997, I would say that about 95% of the problems on the road were caused by four wheelers.
Mm-hmm. Now I know where you're going today.
Lord have mercy.
It's pathetic, isn't it?
God almighty.
All you professional drivers out there.
I had one. We come out of the cash box on the West Virginia Turnpike going north, and I run through the Easy Pass lane behind this guy, and he's getting up through the gear. So I scoot out to the left lane to go around him, and he puts me in the ditch, and then he rides the dotted line for like 100 yards. And I'm asking my wife, I'm like, is there anybody beside him? She's like, no, there's nothing there. And he's just riding down the middle of the damn road, and he finally gets over, and I mashed the gas and went around, and he blew the horn at me like it was my fault. I'm like, I'm not the dumbass running in the middle of the damn road.
But now the reason he's doing that, I want you to know, is because of his ELD.
That was it.
If it
was
weren't
all
for
the ELD.
if it weren't for the ELD, he wouldn't be doing that. Okay. Because he would not be stressed. He would not be in a
Right.
hurry. He would not have to do crazy things in order to make a living.
All because of the ELD. Yeah, it was shocking to see just the stupidity of some of these fools. And you can't keep it between their lines, you know. And I'm in a damn minivan, you know, and I'm thinking, God almighty, it's, you know,
Well, they run into each other.
they do.
They hit-
Spectacularly.
always between two trucks, you know?
Yeah. Mason's got another question. Episode title: Questions with Mason.
Don't let it pick on you, Mason. It's okay. All right?
Would you guys ever move into specialized specialized freight like heavy haul at Landstar, like owning your own RGN trailers and stuff? For us, highly unlikely. Now, I'm going to qualify that. We do what we do, pulling a van with general freight. And what we're trying to do in that is teach you basic business with freight that's kind of easy to come along with, right? We had a guy here that was all about heavy haul and oversized and all that stuff, and it was a nightmare. It was too much at one thing to try to do specialized and teach the principles of business and communication and accounting and all that stuff, and looking for stop signs.
It was so much that it caused him to blow through two stoplights that had flashing red lights with him.
Right.
So
I slipped that in there too.
Well, let me address it. Okay. So Mason, there are people at Landstar that make big bucks doing that.
Big.
There's a guy on this podcast named Froze81, I think it is, that makes big bucks doing that. Okay. But it's what we do here is teach people, to use a football analogy. We teach blocking and tackling here.
Mm-hmm.
We teach the fundamentals so that you can leave here, stay in business, and then pursue those things down the road once you have a solid foundation that your business is based on. So for us, it doesn't really work because it doesn't teach what we're trying to teach. You know, you'll take what you learn here and go on and do that if that's what your interest is. Now, I will also tell you this, that there's a lot of guys that do that. And then when things go south and the business is not that good anymore, they run back to van. So having had a basis in van, they already knew how to do that. We do have a couple of trucks at our platform. They're not heavy haul, but we do have a couple of opportunities here where people can come here, learn the fundamentals, and then move over to platform and use those fundamentals there to get their start on the platform side. And we do have an opportunity here, but we don't do heavy haul here. So,
yeah, Phil does an excellent job of teaching those fundamentals of platform. He has a group set up on Signal that everybody has to be in, and they have to take pictures of every load as they're securing, and feels like, nope, put one there and a chain here and a strap there and move this around. And I mean, hell, I've learned a lot just watching that. So just doing platform freight's not a big deal. But when you get into that heavy and oversized, there's so much attention to detail. And I mean, Phil's on a deal right now where they, paid him to deadhead like 1,500 miles, and I don't know, he's been sitting up there, seems like forever. So it's a great opportunity. And that's the thing about Landstar, that you have all of these opportunities that are beyond general freight, but a bunch of people can't ever get to it because they can't do general freight without being a bunch of narcissistic drama queens that can't even pull general freight without screwing it up. How do you think an agent is going to give you the keys to some of their high dollar freight when you won't send them a damn email? You won't call them with a check call. You won't show up on time. You won't trip plan. It's just nonsense. To think that, well, I'm worth $6 a mile. You ain't worth 6 cents a mile. A bunch of you ain't worth a plug nickel, and, I have worked hard to develop some of the relationships that I have. And like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, that was what was so disheartening for Seth, to try to dispatch some people that didn't care about anything but themselves. And he's trying to use his relationships and his connections to get them good freight. And they basically just pissed all over it.
Let's address this one here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is a good one. How much money do y'all recommend having in the bank when buying a truck? I'm thinking about maybe sending y'all my app so I can learn how to do this successfully. I don't want to fail right off the bat. Go ahead, numbers guy.
Well, in our business model, buying and driving our kinds of trucks, right now I'm seeing our trucks for 20, 25,000, 30,000 maybe. We used to get them for 15. Hell, we got one for 5. So, when we buy one that cheap, we're going to put about 40 grand in it before we get it on the road hauling freight. So let's just use 40 as a number. So, you need to have the 40,000 for the truck, and then you need to have enough to have in reserve. I'd say another 10, 20 would be good. So about 60 would be probably a safe way to get started. And in the Landstar, you've also got a couple of safety nets here, because once you're here for a little while, if you have a major breakdown, Landstar will give you a little assistance if you need to, if you go through your 20 and still need a little help. So I would recommend that you do that. Now, as far as sending your app here, the way our program works is you come here and you drive one of our trucks, and we have you treat it like it's your own, and we will go through all the transparency that we go through to show you how we operate in our business model, so that when you have been here for about a year and a half and you've saved up the $60,000 to go pay cash for your truck, then you'll know how to operate successfully in the Landstar system, in a business model that will keep you in business even when fuel gets $6 a gallon and rates drop to $2 a mile. So that would be my answer to your question. So
now I want to add a little something to that. So when I first came to Larry in March of 2018, the kind of path was to obtain a truck, get it DOT legal and roadworthy, so it could haul freight. Now, it wouldn't be perfect. It wouldn't have everything just like we liked it, but it was DOT legal, it was safe, and it was roadworthy. And then we'd start running freight with it. Okay, let's get it to making money. And then as it's making money, we'll do a little here and a little there. We'll put OPS on. We'll get the tires right. We'll get the alignment. And we'll work the truck as we're lunaticking it in process. One of the things that we kind of learned through that was, and I saw this because we brought in like 3 or 4 trucks, just boom, 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 and I would get in it, and we'd bring a truck in, I would get in it, and I would kind of shake it down and say it needed this, that, and the other. Well, what I noticed was we ended up taking the wheels off of these trucks like 5 times. Take them off, do something, put them back on, and take them off, do something else, and there was a lot of wasted labor in that. So now my recommendation is, and it's not a do it this way versus do it that way. I'm just looking at the long-term, more cost-effective way of doing this is kind of how we did it with Zeke's truck. Zeke paid $5,500 for that truck, towed it to Carl's house. Carl set it on jack stands and went through it. Bushings and brakes and bearings and tires and hoses and clamps. And, we went through the truck front to back, top to bottom, side to side before we ever hauled any freight with it. And so we put that truck in service in July of 21. And I think the only thing that we did to it in that time was a turbo, which was actually kind of our fault, and a drive shaft. And then the rest of it was just wear items. But I believe that the numbers over time would show that if you had the money up front to go ahead and just put the truck on jack stands and go through it front to back, top to bottom, side to side, that you're going to have a lower cost at the end because you're not having a bunch of this repeating labor. Take the wheels off one time, brakes and bearings and bushings and shocks, and then put them back on, versus little by little. Now, if you can get the truck for $5 or $10,000 and you've got 10 or 15 sitting there and you can get it DOT legal and roadworthy and you can start hauling freight with it and make money with it, you can certainly do it the other way. It's just going to come at a slightly higher cost than just completely lunaticking it from day one and then sending it down the road. You have anything to say to that?
No, I agree. But again, just depends on how much money you've got going in. We've done it both ways. We've done it where we've done the major things, all the safety things, all the things that make it reliable. And then as we make money with the truck, we go back and do some of the things that weren't necessary right then, but would be better to have done. Reinvest the income. If you have the money and you can do it up front, it saves you money in the long run because you're not duplicating the effort, and you're getting it done and not have to go back and worry about it. But either way, it works. And either way, you're going to spend about the same amount of money, whether you spend it up front or spend it over the course of, a few months or a year or whatever. So, yeah. And there's a lot of things we do modification wise. Sometimes we'll buy a truck that's got brand new tires on it. That's not really what we want, but it'll haul freight, and so we put it out there and run the tires for a while. And then when after it makes a little money, then we change them out to the tires that we like, so it just depends on, the situation that you're in, so.
Yeah. People in the comments are asking about the episode with Phil. I believe that was 109, where he talked about the platform division. Phil was fortunate enough to learn, like I did, from some of the old school guys. And, again, I'm not anti-technology. I love technology, but the fundamentals, the blocking and tackling, like Larry was talking about, the map reading, the,
Mason, keep in mind, I'm sorry, Chris, I stepped in.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, we're kind of getting off. Again, let me remind everybody what we do. We're not here to advise people in trucking business how to run their business. Okay, this question right here. Well, I have no answer for that. I would not do it. But understand what we're trying to do here. We're trying to take the person who's buying their first truck and going into business the first time to be able to not be in the 90% that fail. Would I buy this truck? No. Would I recommend anybody else buy it as their first truck? No. Whether or not you want to buy one down the road after you've got money in the bank and you want to, that's a different topic, but that's outside of our scope.
Yeah.
Our truck is going to be an 07 or older Freightliner with a Detroit engine. Period. That's what it's going to be, because that's the least risky truck to put on the road and make money with. The cheapest to get on the road, the cheapest to maintain. All the other things, you can give me all the little examples of how you did fine with it. That's great. But, you know, the numbers don't lie, and the numbers support that's the truck that is the least expensive to put on the road, keep on the road, and get into business and stay in business. Now, if you've been doing this for a long time and you've got money in the bank and you want to go buy a CNG truck, bless your heart. Good for you. But it's not what we would recommend for people who are listening to us, trying not like whoever it was up here. Him. Absolutely do not do that. Absolutely do not do that. Absolutely do not buy a truck that's not a 07 and older Freightliner with a Series 60. So let's remember what we're called and why we're called what we're called. Okay. We're never going to be mainstream ever. Okay. Because
Nope.
mainstream is stupid. Mainstream, 90% of people who do this mainstream fail. All right. And we're not here to teach you how to do it. You can learn that anywhere. Go to any fleet out here. They'll teach you how to do that. They'll even let you sign up for a lease purchase, and they'll help you do it.
Well, and
we're trying to keep you from doing that. So we're not going to do mainstream crazy ass things. That's why people talk about us.
And that's the other thing, that when you look at these fleets, because of their branding, you think they're the representative of the trucking model, but they're not. They're 15% of the industry. And that's kind of what I was, going back to what I was talking about with Craig Fuller, he's got all this amazing data. It's fantastic. But his market's like 15 or 20% of the industry. The rest of it is small fleets, owner operators, people running spot, people doing little small local contracts, we call them dumbbells and triangles. And it's just not an accurate representation of the market. Swift and Schneider and JB Hunt and US Express and Covenant, they're over in their own little thing, and I'm not mad at them. Let them do what they're going to do. I really wish they would stop this institutionalized slavery that they've developed with automatic transmissions and restrictions and all this crap, because they're capturing young people and rendering them absolutely incapable of doing anything but drive for them, or the one that looks just like them, or the one that looks just like them, or the one that looks just like them. Because they come to us and they can't shift, and they can't read a map, and they can't trip plan, because they have no skills, none whatsoever. They're absolutely a steering wheel holder, and
they have no ability to think critically.
Zero.
Everything has to be policy and blanket decisions. They have no capability of looking at something and going, oh, here's the answer to this particular situation this time. They have to fall back to, okay, what's in the book? Oh, every time I do this, I do this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not how you stay in business. That's how you stay a slave. That's how slaves stay slaves, is do what the master says. And we're trying to get people to start thinking for themselves. But the problem with that is you have to want to not be a slave. Okay.
That's the big problem.
You have to want to not be that. So you can't decide to be a business owner and want slave things like, oh, it's a little bit bad right now, Lance. You should give me more percentage. Because that's what slaves want. Master, give me some more. Give me some more. And that's exactly that's the way you're going to be. Don't do this. Stay working for a company. Let them buy you for wholesale and sell you for retail, because that's exactly what they're doing. Now, when you decide to take over all of your own responsibilities, and when things get tough, you solve the problem, not ask the government or ask Landstar to solve the problem, then maybe you're ready to take this step.
Yeah, and work ethic. Look, y'all, any business, doesn't matter what it is, it's hard. It's difficult. It's tiring. It's stressful. It's exhausting, and it's worth it. if you stick with it and if you survive long enough to build that value and build that wealth. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of Robert Kiyosaki, and he's got some kind of out there stuff about some things. But one of the things I love, he says that wealth is how long you can survive if you stop working today. All right. So if I stopped working today, I would last about 30 minutes. Okay. That's about how long I would make it if I stopped working today. All right. So think about that, and he would say, well, if it cost you $2,000 a month to live and you have $24,000 in value, you could live for 12 months. You're 12 months wealthy. So back to the question of how much money do you need to have in the bank? Well, you better have enough to sit for a month or two. What if you break your leg? What if somebody tears the nose off your truck in the truck stop parking lot? What if, and that was my big problem. Y'all listen, the fact that I made it 3 years is a miracle from heaven. Okay. There's so many things that could have gone wrong and should have gone wrong. And didn't, obviously something finally did, got me in 3 years in, but I couldn't stand it. I shut my truck down for 2 weeks, even if I wanted to. If I just wanted to go on vacation, I couldn't afford it. So, you got to understand, back to what Larry's saying, and Mason's got another question in here. I'm not even going to put it on the screen because here's my opinion. If you want to succeed in the truck, if you want to succeed in any business, you better get your cost very, very, very low, and you better work your ass off for 5 years. You don't go on vacation. You don't buy expensive stuff. So, no, you can't afford to buy a $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 truck. If you have a brand new trucking business and you want to survive, you need to be buying a $5,000 to $15,000 truck if you can find it. And I just saw one the other day. A guy put one up for $10,000, and of course it was gone immediately, like boom,
Well, but besides that, Mason, the truck that you're talking about buying is going to have emission issues. All right. Part of the reason we go 07 and older is to avoid all these emission issues. All right. For the first 2 or 3 years you're in business, so you're not sitting in a dealership waiting room waiting for your $1 to get replaced or some sensor or over and over and over again. Again, you're probably listening to us for the very first time. You need to go back and there's 136 of these. You need to start at about 49 and go, and you'll understand why we do what we do. We do not recommend people do trucking the way trucking does trucking. Okay.
Nope.
Because it doesn't usually work out very well for you. All right. And if you don't believe me, go on any of the trucking groups right now on Facebook and look and see what everybody's talking about. How are we going to make it? How are you guys? What are you guys doing right now? Everybody is concerned because they don't know how to make money in this environment. And this environment we're not at the bottom. Okay. We're nowhere close.
Nowhere near it.
Again, we're still we're still within a few percentage points of the 5-year average. So it's you just have a lot of work that you need to do to understand that if you do trucking the way trucking does trucking, you will be out of business and broke unless you start with a lot of money. Now, if you've got $1 million, go for it. You'll probably make it. But if you don't, I would recommend that you understand how we do this to minimize risk so that you can stay in business long enough to be able to do things down the road that are a little more risky, but you can afford to take that risk. So anyway, appreciate you listening, but you got some homework to do.
If I was going to go into, music, all right, perfect example. I was born with musical talent. My wife has musical talent. My parents and grandparents have musical talent. My kids have musical talent. Okay. I have a friend that used to be a professional touring musician. And I made some crack one day about, man, I just wish I could do this every day. He's like, no, you don't. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, do you have any idea how hard it is to be a touring musician? Just a group of 5 guys, very, very, very good, like top level musicians, but not famous, just touring around your tri-state area. They all made, like, I think he said they made 80, 90 grand a piece. So, you're talking about a group of 5 guys. If they're making 100, they're probably spending 150 or 200. They had a legitimate business of serving whatever the public was in bars, I'm sure, lots of bars and weddings. And well, if I wanted to know how to do that, number one, I'm going to go to somebody that's done it successfully for more than 6 months. But I can tell you right now, I'm not going to go buy a $5,000 guitar. I'm going to go buy the absolute cheapest guitar I can get that will get the job done. So maybe it's my Fender Squier Stratocaster, or maybe it's my cheap, 6-string Ibanez bass guitar, or maybe it's a $500 Pearl drum set, but I'm not going to go get the best of the best. Now, why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. So why would we do that in trucking when you have this massive overhead anyway? It costs you $120,000 to $150,000 a year just in basic costs. And then you're going to add $2,000 a week on top of that in truck payment. Why? So you can look like the next guy, or because it smells good, or because it rides good, or because it's pretty, or everybody else has got one. No, absolutely not. It doesn't make any sense, and it's not mathematically sound. So that's why we're lunatics. I can't stress enough that the reason we're going to still be in business 6 months from now is because of our junk trucks. I saw that in our TikTok. Yo, junk. Okay.
I've been called the
slumlord
of Landstar. Yeah.
Slumlord of Landstar. The bankrupt trucker and the laundromat king.
Yeah. Well, a lot of slumlords I know have big bank accounts.
They do. Indeed. We've just got to think long term. I mean, my perfect candidate for this program is about 23 to 25 years old, single, unmarried, no kids, that will just get in the truck and shut up and just soak it in. And of course, we got one, Richie. Now, I'm not saying that if you're 50, that you can't come, because he didn't even start in truck until he's 54. But if I could get a couple of guys that were in their 20s,
and I can quit tomorrow and work a little longer than a couple of days.
Yes, you can. But somebody that was young, 23, 24, 25, old enough to know better, but too young to care.
Well, it's not. But Chris, it's not this. I've been in lots of business. I know lots of business people. It's any business. If you're going to start any business, okay, you have to commit to it. You can't have other things that keep you from giving it your 100% attention. If you've got young kids at home, it's hard to do that in any business. Okay, it's not just trucking. It's what people need to remember, and we remind them of this all the time, is when you buy that truck, you start a business. When you're driving a truck down the road for somebody else, it's just a trucking job. Okay. But the minute that your name goes on that door, that now becomes your business. Businesses are hard. That's why people fail. Half of all businesses fail within 5 years. Half of all businesses fail within 5 years. Why is that? It's not because they don't know what they're doing. They're just not ready for the commitment that it takes, financially, emotionally, time wise. It's not if it were easy, everybody would be doing it, and nobody would ever fail. But that's not the case. So, you can't. A lot of people come here and they want to stick their toe in the water and try it. Well, I can tell you right now, if that's what your attitude is, I want to try it. Don't come. Don't bother, because you're not going to like it. You have to walk. You have to burn the bridge behind you and say, I'm going to do this regardless of what it takes. I'm going to do whatever it takes to do this. If that's important enough to you, if that's what you think is going to. Now, here's what happens. Okay, you decide you want to do that. All right, because you don't want to pay that price, and then we get you at 61, 65, maybe luckily at 55, when you've dicked around your whole life and you don't have anything saved for retirement, and it just hits you all the morning one day. Oh shit, I'm not going to be able to retire. I don't have any money saved. Okay. That's not the time to do it. That's not the time to do it. The time to do it is when you're younger, but make the commitment to do it, and don't stick your toe in the water and go, oh, well, this is hard. I'm not going to, because that's what it takes to be successful in business. And I've had people jump on me here. Well, I don't want to be wealthy. Well, that's fine. Well, it's like Chris said a while ago. Wealth just means how long can you stay alive after you quit working? That's what wealth is. Retirement requires wealth. Got news for you, okay? Unless you plan on working every day till they put you in a box, you're going to have something saved, invested, whatever, so that you can get in Bill Taylor's Prevost motorhome and drive down to Florida and take 6 months off for the wintertime. Okay? That's a businessman. That's not some Jake leg. But a commitment was required for him to be in that position. A commitment. A long time ago, a commitment. So, it's not just trucking. You guys want to have something that you can hang your hat on listen, there's a lot of nice things to do in this country and all over the world, but it takes time and money to go do them. And you have to be able to take off work to go do it. Okay. So if you're not making enough money to save money, then you're never going to do those things ever. Go buy lottery tickets.
Evan says, hey, I'm 22 and not married. Where can I sign up? Well, I can tell you right here. Drive for number 4 blueribbon.com. You have to have at least 1 year of verifiable over-the-road experience to qualify with Landstar. No tickets or accidents. I mean, you can have two tickets, but not 3.
Just don't be be a decent driver. That's all it takes. Landstar doesn't hire morons. Okay. Well, I can't say that. Landstar hires morons with good driving records. Okay.
Correct.
You can be a moron. You just can't have a bad driving record and won't be a moron in that regard. They got plenty of morons, believe me.
Well, listen, I have been so disappointed because there's been, I'm going to say at least 5 people that we really, really, really wanted to hire because we could tell they had the right attitude. Mm-hmm. And it was some BS about
they were doing it in a day cab, or they only drove 150 miles at one way instead of 175 miles. So it's just, we're looking at a possible workaround to that. I'm not going to go any further, but Lunastar, remember that, okay? Remember that word.
Lunastar.
All right.
I was thinking we need to have like a university, like Lunatic University or Lunatic College or something, call the program.
The Lunatic Academy is what it's called. We have that already. I have a slide of it.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. You do. Look, I can't fault some people that have come here and gone, okay, well, now I understand what it takes to be a successful owner operator. I don't want to do it. It's probably more often than not. No, these guys are idiots and they just want me to work hard. And,
we want you to work hard because that's what it takes to be successful. Yeah. What you do here. Can I share this, Chris?
Yeah, you should be able to just hit present.
Share screen.
Yeah. Careful, y'all. He's working on technology. Oh, there it is. Yeah, Lunatic Academy.
There's the textbooks right there. See the textbooks?
Yep.
There's the lunatic part right there, the moon. So there you go.
Okay. Lucky Trucking. How long can one stay in your program? Well, as long as you need to.
As long as you want to.
The program is 15 months. It's 90-day probationary period, and then a 12-month program. But we're not going to run you off. I mean, if you needed to stay 2 years to save up the money you need to save, that's fine. We're not going to run you off unless you're lazy or dumb. Which listen, guys, listen, please. I've had enough. I've had all the lazy and dumb that I can handle for a while. So if the lazy, like that, you ever seen that Chinese poster? It's got Chinese writing on it. It says, "Not dumb area, don't dumb here." Okay, yeah. I've had all the lazy and dumb that I can handle for a while. My lazy and dumb is like level has been exceeded. So if I could just get, man, if I had 5 people right now that wanted to come and take advantage of this program,
5 more. We've got more than 5. We need. Well, look here. Here's the thing. Let me step in here and say this. Okay, assuming that you have the experience driving a truck to do this program, coming here is not a truck driving job. Coming here is not learning how to drive a truck. Coming here is learning how to be in business. Okay, what it takes to get in business, what it takes to stay in business. And let me explain to you what that is. Serving the customer. That's number one here. Okay. Yep. You're going to get your feelings hurt when you come here. And what you want to do is not what we need to do to serve the customer. And you're going to get mad. You're going to get butthurt. Okay. But you have to understand that's how you stay in business. I was at Walmart today buying groceries. You know what Walmart employees have no friggin' idea of is who pays their salary. Okay.
None.
And truck drivers are no different.
Nope.
They don't understand who pays them. Well, that person they don't need to know where their freight is. It'll get there when I get there. Well, that's exactly what they need to know. They're paying you to haul the damn freight. So if that's your attitude, please don't come. Okay. Please don't. You're not going to like us. Okay. We serve our customer. That comes number one. We teach you why it's important to serve a customer, because that's how you stay in business. That's how you survive at Landstar, prosper, and grow without having to count on loads from agents that you dislike. All right.
Now I want to clarify something he just said. If you come here, you will love Seth, you'll dislike Larry, and you will hate me. And I will go right down the hall here and sleep like a baby when you hate me. Okay. So let's just clarify that.
Well, and it's not me. You'll hate us if you don't understand what we're here to do, and you want to come here and turn this into a truck driving job. If you come here to the Lunatic Academy to learn business and to learn how to do things the right way so that you don't have to worry about fuel getting $10 a gallon. I pray for it to be $10 a gallon. Please, Biden, make it $10 a gallon tomorrow, okay? But if you don't understand that, that's why you need to be here. Because that does not matter. That will not put you out of business. All right. What puts you out of business is not serving your customer, not understanding that that's what's important, and not understanding that buying fuel and all the things we've talked about all night, why that's important, why it's important that you understand that you can find out the cost of fuel all day long up and down your route. You have the option to choose where to buy that. You just have to have the desire to want to know it and the knowledge and resource to get it. But that could be a difference between you making money this year or not making money. Okay. Getting a truck that will not put you in a poorhouse because it's broke down all the time for a damn one box or whatever. That will put you in the poorhouse. That will not keep you in business. That's why we don't buy them. Okay. Shit, Chris, I lost my train of thought.
Well, let me jump in here. It says, do I have to get hazmat to sign on with you guys? To be honest, I really don't want to get it. Well, yes, Landstar requires hazmat. Now, as a BCO, you don't have to haul hazmat. You do with us. But Landstar requires you to get hazmat because they cannot take a chance on some amoeba that they've allowed in that doesn't have hazmat to go hook up to a hazmat load because it pays more and run down the road with it with no certification. Now, let me demystify hazmat a little bit for you. Hazmat is the easiest thing there is to do in the trucking industry. Okay. If your paperwork is right and your securement is right and your placards are right, you have no problems. And Landstar has the hands down the best hazmat department in the industry. You get a hazmat load, you take a picture of the bills, you email it to hazmat@landstar.com, you call them, they go over your paperwork, they check your placards, you put them on the truck. Piece of cake. Hazmat violations are the easiest violations, period. Getting a hazmat violation pisses me off more than anything because it's too easy. It's way too easy to have your stuff together. So getting hazmat is not an issue. And listen, again, what are you in business to do? Make money. How do you make money? You make yourself more valuable. You get the TSA certification. You get the hazmat certification. If they offer it, get it, because if it makes you able to pull another load, you need it.
If you guys have listened to us, you know that my background, not background, my break in trucking came at Transport America doing that FedEx route. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to episode 49, 50 long in there. But I got offered a FedEx dedicated account to Transport America because of the value that I brought to Transport America.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I went to Transport America, it wasn't required that you had to have hazmat. It wasn't required that you went to Canada. Okay. But immediately, I, as a businessman, okay, I'm 54. I've been in business since 1977. When all the other guys go, I don't want all that hazmat shit. I ain't doing that. And I ain't crossing that damn border. The first thing I did was get my hazmat, get an ELD, by the way, voluntarily,
Mm-hmm.
and agreed to go to Canada. Now, if you're trying to set yourself apart from the rest, how valuable was I to my fleet manager over the dumbass who said, "Oh, I'm not getting that stuff"? Wonder who was thought of better than the others. Wonder if that had anything to do with me getting offered that FedEx, which I turned around in the next 4.5 years and put $1 million in my pocket as a result of. I'd have never gotten that if I had the attitude like, well, I don't want to get a hazmat. Again, see, here's what I'm talking about here. That's truck driver mentality.
Yep.
Okay, that will keep you as a employee. You know, a business part. Let me give you another example. If I go to a restaurant right now and the dining room's closed, I don't go through the drive-through. Okay, I leave. I hope they go out of business. I'm going to go down the road to the one that has a dining room. Okay, because they want my business.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling your customer that I don't really want your business. I only want this certain business. You know, and that just plays right into what we try to teach people not to do. Not put restrictions on you. Well, I don't like driving in snow. Well, okay. You know,
I'm gonna get a screenshot of this one from Dawson Bryant Coberly, saying if I ever get the work ethic of my pops, I'll come drive for you. So this is Seth's boy, which I guess he's in. I guess he's still in high school. But I'm glad to see at least one of the Coberly bunch is watching this podcast, because I'm not sure where Pops is at, but I don't ever see him around.
Well, he's not driving a truck. I can tell you that. He's home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, a couple of
now-
questions here. Yes, you can come and talk to us now. By the time you get through Landstar's qualifications and we get you, we're getting ready to come up on the holidays. Your 2 months of OTR you'll have that done before you need to worry about it. So wouldn't worry about that, Evan. Okay. What you need to do is go on there and fill out submit the app. We'll set up an interview with you with Zoom and we'll talk all this one-on-one. Okay. So, but if you're the one that didn't want hazmat, you're not going to like that conversation. So
now I will say this, Mason, why would you not want to go to Canada? What's the damn difference between Canada and the USA? I actually stopped going to Canada. I used to get some big money flatbed loads and stuff going up there. But I actually stopped in about 2016 because I got tired of dealing with the jackbooted thugs that accosted me when I was trying to get back into my own country. Now, of course, since then, they're rabid about this vaccination stuff. So I'm unclean and I'm not allowed to get into Canada right now. So,
well, that's a whole different story now.
Yeah.
Okay, that didn't exist back in 2008. But that's the thing. Okay, again, the attitude of service. Okay, that's what you have to be successful in business. You can't be a truck driver. You can't do things only that suit you. You may eventually be able to do that. Okay, when I was a wedding photographer, I eventually could take only the top paying jobs. But hell, I couldn't start out doing that. You have to do whatever you have to do. That's how you get. That's how you pay the dues to be able to be around when. And I think I mentioned this in a previous thing. You do all these things now that you don't want to do, and then down the road you have pennies from heaven. You don't know where they came from, but it's a result of all the things that you did that you didn't want to do when you started out. But that requires commitment. Okay, and a lot of people don't like that word anymore. Commitment. And by the way, we're not going to Canada, so y'all can forget all about that.
Yeah.
That's a whole different situation, a whole different time. We ain't going to Canada. There's no land. Never mind. We're not going to Canada, so don't worry about that.
I just saw something else and I forgot what it was. Oh, Pete Cochran's talking about take a load to Alaska. Take a plane to Alaska.
Yeah, just drive a car up there. Don't take a truck.
Yeah, or
Just
take that. Well, they're a really beautiful ship that goes.
Oh yeah,
up
a cruise. There's a
Yeah.
cruise. That's it. Yeah, and go in July. But yeah, don't drive your truck. Okay, there's no network up there when you break down. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Ice road trucking is very risky. Okay, so just fly.
Well, we've got an hour and 37. We probably
We're just getting started, man. I'm just getting broke in. I was kind of rusty when we first started.
I've already driven 400 miles a day, and I'm still recovering from Dollywood, walking my fat ass around Dollywood for 12 hours. But
well, you guys that are talking about checking us out, we do have a couple of openings. We could put a couple of you on, but understand what we do here, okay? If you want to be a truck driver, this is not the place for you, okay? If you want to learn how to be successful in business and have wealth where you have a chance of retiring in a few years, then we'll teach you how to do that, okay? The only reason Chris doesn't have it is because when he found me, he was so far in the hole that he's just now getting to back up to zero. Okay. Yeah. So we'll start working on him, but I had to dig him out of a hole. Okay. But it's what we teach here is how to do this so profitably that you put money in the bank and you can every time we talk about making money, we talk about making and saving money because that's how you accumulate wealth is spend less than you make, and not do stupid things. Quit using credit cards. Get out of debt. That's why we don't have you go buy trucks and buy them with financing or lease purchases or anything else. We're cash business here, okay? And that's what we'll teach you how to do. So, anyway,
let's see. Looking at the calendar. What are we on? We're going to be on Sunday live from the hotel next week. So that'll be spicy. And then are you going to be broadcasting from West Palm Beach, Florida?
I will be on Sunday night. Yeah. I'm getting in early. I'm getting in like at noon. So I'll be ready to podcast. So,
okay, good deal. All right. We will see everybody next Sunday night at 9:00. Live and rowdy from the Lunatic Lounge at the Wingate. So everybody be good and be safe. We'll see you next time.
Good night, everybody.